My name is Charlene Phillips, and I'd like to welcome you to one of several video tutorials for my book, Simply Serging.
Hello, my name is Kelly Biscopink, and I'm here today with Charlene Phillips, the author of the new book, Simply Serging from Krause Publications. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Charlene.
Thank you, Kelly.
So what can readers expect to find in your new book?
Well, they can expect to find a little bit about the serger itself, so they will not be intimidated by that serger, and once they learn to begin it. So that's a brief intro to their serger. But what's more exciting is they're going to find that using the serger, they're going to be able to make at least 15 projects very easily and very quickly.
It's very exciting. I know that a lot of people either are intrigued by serging or actually have one at home that they're afraid to use. Why do you think the serger is so intimidating to most people?
It certainly is the number of threads, the number of needles. A sewing machine has one needle and one bobbin. And with the serger, we're working with 3 to 4 threads, sometimes 5, and more. But we're threading 2 needles, and we are threading an upper looper and a lower looper. I have some people who have told me that once they've threaded the machine, they never want to thread it again. I advise, just practice. Keep practicing your threading, and you'll have it. And have fun.
I know just from watching you, it's much less intimidating because it is just a fancy sewing machine that does some extra fun things. So I think that definitely the book and some of the video that we've done as well that people can access is going to really make it a lot easier for them to use and exciting to use as well. So I know this is not the first book you've written. You're the author of 2 other sewing and sewing attachment books. So can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, the first book, the Sewing Machine Attachment Handbook, that covers at least 25 different sewing attachments. And what is so wonderful about that book, and to me, and intrigued me so much, is the fact that the ruffler or the foot hammer, which were invented many years ago, back in the 1800s, they still work the same today. So whether you have a vintage sewing machine and using some of the older attachments, or whether you're buying the new attachments, that particular book can help you. And the second book, The Sewing Machine Classroom, is a wonderful reference book that I hope people will use over and over, because it's going to let them control their sewing machine instead of that sewing machine controlling them.
As so frequently happens.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your sewing history. How did you become such an expert in so many different areas of sewing?
Well, I've always loved sewing. I started very young, watching and helping my mother, and by very young, around 5 or 6 years old. So I would sit there and watch her sew, and she sewed all of our clothes. And my next step, of course, was the good old Barbie dolls and cutting out fabric and just designing and playing and having fun with the fabric. From there, I just continued sewing, and I made my own clothes. Years later, I had a sewing alterations business, and there you really learn the ins and outs of how garments are made. So that's pretty much the sewing history. I've sewed all my life, and I love to learn new techniques and just play around.
So in your opinion, what are some of the exciting new sewing trends that are on the horizon?
Well, I think what is really wonderful, just as a trend, is that so many people are going back to sewing. I have some people who have written to me, and they may be 70 or 80 years old, and maybe they saw the book, but something intrigued them, and they're now picking up sewing again and getting back into it. And so many younger people are starting to sew and enjoy it. And they're realizing that, it's just not the, a bland old sewing machine. There's so much they can do with it. And I think that's the most important and exciting thing on the horizon, is having generations of sewers.
It's very exciting for everyone, I think, to see it becoming so much more mainstream again.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really appreciate your time, and everyone is going to be thrilled to have this wonderful book. So be sure to pick up your own copy of Charlene Phillips' new book, Simply Serging. It's published by Krause Publications and is available at store.marthapullen.com.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to pick up a copy of my book, Simply Serging, for your own sewing library. In it, you'll find projects and techniques that will show you just how much fun using your serger can be. Simply Serging is published by Krause Publications and it is available here at store.marthapullen.com.